Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Business This Week on Independent Television. I am Blessing AJ. Now, last week on the show, we talked about estimated billing amid low metering. Estimated bill is something that unmetered customers have had to deal with over the years. And NEC recently spoke on capping of estimated bill. Now, there seems to be a misconception on the end of the consumer. It is assumed that there is a fixed rate on capping of estimated bill. We spoke with one of the discos talking about Benin Electricity Distribution Company. In an exclusive interview, the head corporate affairs clarified on this issue. So we'll take that interview now, and then we'll take a break. Then we'll talk about demutualization of the Nigeria Stock Exchange. You want to know all about that? Stay with us on the show.
The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has a major task of trying to balance what we call public interest and the business interest or the investors' interest. The public interest in terms of the consumers and the investors' interest in terms of the service providers. And that's what guides NEC in all its regulations. NEC, in its wisdom, decided to cap estimated billing as a precursor to actually winding down estimated billing as a tool towards billing customers who are not metered. And in view of the reality of the fact that full metering or 100% metering across board is not something that can be done overnight. It's a gradual transition. In principle, estimated billing is a way of billing customers that are not metered, because the dilemma comes to play where it is not possible to give all the customers meter at any given point in time, and such a customer has the right to use electricity. So the middle way to achieving that is the estimated billing. And definitely there are two sides to estimated billing per se. There is overbilling and there is underbilling. However, much emphasis and stress is usually on overbilling because so many people are affected. There are those people that are also underbilled because it is in the consumer's favor. The customers keep quiet about that. We have had instances where customers were actually underbilled, and which is to the detriment of the discos. But customers cry out when they feel that they overbilled. So it is actually a principle of estimation, like a guesstimate. What applies in customer with similar circumstance with such a customer that is not metered is taken randomly to determine the price or the bill to be given to such a customer as an estimate, or what we call estimated billing. Now, what NEC has done is actually informed by two principles. One, the tariff class of a customer that is not metered. Then the location. A customer who is in Sopumba in Benin, for instance, under the present dispensation, will pay less for an estimated billing compared to a customer in GRA in the same Benin. Why? Which is actually a factor or a fact, is that the power availability for the two customers are quite different. A customer in GRA gets more power than a customer in Sopumba. So if they are the same customer in the same tariff class, what will be given to each of them will be different. A customer in GRA will likely pay more in terms of the capping of estimated billing than a customer in Sopumba. The same thing, a customer in the northern side of the country, because availability to that area is also low. Under this capping of estimated billing, will pay less compared to a customer in Ikeja, where there is more availability of power. So you can see that it is not a one size fits all. It is based on the location and the tariff class of the customer. Of course, what determines that is the availability. You may have instances where you enjoy life for 9 hours in a day compared to a customer who only has it for 3 hours a day. So you can see that it is not fixed. It is determined by those two, factors or variables: the tariff class of the customer and the location. That is where the customer is based. So that's actually the thing. It is wrong to say 1,000. It was just a baseline analogy to illustrate the capping which the regulator has put forward for the discos to use. Each disco has its own peculiar capping arrangement. What obtains in Benin is different from what obtains in Lagos. It should also be noted that even that rate is not inclusive of VAT. You know that there's a new value added tax increase, which is now 7.5%. It used to be 5%. So it was just a baseline analogy. It wasn't that it was a flat rate, because they are different. The allocation formula from national grid is different. Then even within the same, disco, the availability to each of the locations are different. People in Oluku, what they get is different from somebody in Ewutubu. The issue of metering, BEDC presently happens to be one of the discos with the highest metering rate. However, that does not mean all the customers are metered. We are working hard. We are maximizing the opportunity of the meter asset provider put in place by the regulator as a means of ensuring that customers are metered. We have started in some locations in our coverage areas. In Edo, we have started in GRA and Ihama. In Delta, we are in Asabankoka areas. In Undo, we are in Akure. In Ekiti, we are in Ado Ekiti. Now, we have also further unbundled that map, program in a way that will ensure that customers are rapidly metered. In the past, we used to have one, omnibus approach, which is just like going to the website, log in, fill your know your customer, information, then from there upload, then follow up through the business and all that. But now what we have done is to break it down into 3 levels, 3 tiers. Application of meter. They will apply for the meter. They will indicate whether single phase or 3-phase meter, and they will effect payment. After the payment has been made, 24 hours later, the installation will be done. That is the one-shop approach. That's the first tier. The second tier is if a prospective customer too goes to the business unit, there are staff on ground who will assist the customer complete the form, complete the process, especially for those who are not ready to pay. The difference between the first tier and the second tier is that the first tier is for customers who are ready to pay 100% or fully for the cost of the meter they are looking for. But for those that cannot afford, the regulator has also put in place instrumental payment. So for people like this, they will go to the business unit where they will assist them go through the process. Then the third tier, which is the ultimate one, is the one where we do transformer to transformer metering. Our staff will be going, to do metering, go to residences of customers, ensure that from transformer to transformer is done. However, we've just started with GRA. We intend to move on to other locations. Why we are taking pains to ensure that GRA is effectively concluded is that after this exercise, we'll move on to another location within Benin. We will not come back to GRA. And any customer that is not metered while we are still in GRA and Ihama will be disconnected, because we are no longer going to use estimated billing to calculate their bill. All the investors in the metering scheme all over the country, they face a challenge because the high duty on the importation of meter itself is high at 35%, coupled with the fact that most of them don't have a huge capital, because metering is capital intensive, and that's why the regulator stylishly took it off, that burden, away from the discos, and said third parties should finance or fund the importation. But when most of them approach the banks, the interest rate given to them by banks is killing, because you can imagine somebody being given 40%, about 40% interest on a business that the margin is even non-existent. Meters are imported. Meanwhile, during the era of the defunct PACN and the NEPA, it was on record that there were waivers on the part of the federal government. Why this was done, why it was easier, there may be because it was the same government to government, but it's part of the incentive that government needs to put in place to ensure, because these investors were crying out. If the interest rate on loan you want to get on bank to fund the thing is high, and their business people, there must also be margin for them to recover their cost, not even talking of profit. So when it's not there, Then the duty, when you report and you have to pay 35% duty on that. So it's a disincentive to people who want to fund. So is a major drawback. The another thing is that even when you do the metering, there's a high incidence of bypass, especially in a state like Edo. The bypass is so rampant that yes, the meter is there to calculate the energy a consumer uses, but what is the guarantee that even if as a service provider you put it there, you still record a lot of what you call technical and commercial losses? The technical losses is that some companies will even divert the load. They don't allow it to get to the meter so that the meter will not calculate it, and it's a loss to the disco. We have done investigation and we have found out. We have also done investigation even in some residential places underground. They tamper with the meter. There are regulations meant to tackle that. We only pray that the executive governor of Edo State signs off the bill which was approved by this, which was put in place by the Edo State House Assembly on energy theft, so that people who bypass, once they know there's a punishment awaiting them, it will serve as a deterrent and will also encourage the disco to, push forward the agenda of mass metering of customers. And then we also observe that in some locations, even in Benin, there are some customers who are also rejecting to be metered. Because the metering that we are doing now, we are putting it on the pole, not on the wall, in different residences. And when you put it on by the wall, it's easier for customers to manipulate, to tamper. But when you put it on the pole, whoever does that does it at their own risk. The issue of electrocution or shock can occur. So we put the smart meters there from remote locations. They tamper with it. But when we even want to put some of them, say no. Because again, it doesn't allow people to be changing from one phase to another. If you are using a single phase, if it's single phase, you are entitled to. That's what you can't have 3 or 4 lines, except you have you pay for that service you want to enjoy. So those are some of the things that discourage. And of course, there's also the delay in receiving an installation of the meter, the delay, the structure, because when you want to install, because that's why the process that we have put in place at BED is such that some of those things can be taken care of. If a customer wants to build, if your customer has a house, the wiring of the house is part of what we are doing as a house owner. We are not the owner of your house. So if you must put an equipment there, they must confirm that wiring is okay. When it's okay, they will put the meter there, because it's both sides. If the wire is not properly done, if the energy is not, if you are not getting access to the energy, it becomes a problem. Then if you are even getting access to the energy and it's not properly recorded, it also becomes a problem. But the owner of property is expected to ensure that that area is taken care of, so that you won't come back and tell us that the energy is all these other bills and everything that are issues. So those are some of the things that are serving as disincentive or that are slowing down the process of metering.